Welcome to a very special edition, Friday edition of Seth and Sean Sports Radio.
Special? It's special?
Special. Halloween edition. Ooh. No, not really.
Is that why you're wearing your Super Mario shirt?
No, I just thought
Or is that for like OK Cupid?
Anyway, no, I chose to wear this shirt. I don't know why I chose to wear this shirt. First of all, welcome to the show, everybody. Seth Kamens is over there. I'm Sean Palmer over here. Seth and Sean Sports on Friday morning. Excuse me. It's been a long morning already. My question to you, first question, Jake and Morgan's Halloween costume. What do we got going on this year?
Jake is going as Stephen Curry.
Nice.
Except Carly had a heart attack last night because the shorts from Amazon didn't get here. So she quickly, or they canceled the order. So she would now order 3 other pairs of shorts, and whichever one is the first she gets, and she'll return the other 2. Welcome to my wife. Morgan is going as, I forget the name, but the main character from Encanto.
From what?
Encanto.
No, I don't think I've ever seen that.
Because it's a Disney movie it's the Disney movie that doesn't include Marvel.
So is that Mirabelle? Mirabelle? She's going as Mirabelle.
I think so. Yeah.
Got it. All right. Have we previewed these outfits? Are they cute?
Jake has a Stephen Curry jersey, and he got the headband, and he's got the shorts. He's ordering the shorts. So I have not. I don't typically preview, although there will be a part. They have a after school trunk and treat party, which we will be going to at 4:00
because we're not allowed to trick anymore. We can only trunk. I don't know what trunking means, but
it's when they have candy in the trunks of their car.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, never put 2 and 2 together. Yourself, are you partaking in this lovely holiday this weekend? Is there a Cayman's Fright Fest going on?
No, my job is to chaperone, which I will be doing.
Is Carly dressing up?
Carly has the same wig she's worn for 15 years, for 12 years.
And do we know, is Teo dressing up, or is Teo over this?
I don't know. He's in New York, I'm assuming.
Well, I didn't know this week. All right.
In order to get free candy, I'm sure he's happy to dress up.
I get that. So, all right, NHL, NBA started out in the last 2 weeks. Did you watch any of the NBA games in the last 2 days?
I watched a little bit of Golden State Phoenix, which was pretty good.
Okay.
I watched a little bit of Phoenix, the Lakers last night, which was pretty good. It was on the background, but it was very weird to see Chris Paul in a Golden State Warriors jersey.
Is it always weird to see Chris Paul in a New Jersey?
No, because he's been on like 7 teams, but it's
right,
weird to see him in that one.
Okay. Now, I did not watch any of the Golden State game. I did watch a little bit of the Lakers' first game against the Nuggets. I watched most of the Celtics-Knicks game, and a little bit here and there of a little bit more of the NBA.
I did see some of the Nuggets-Lakers game. I was at home Tuesday. I was out Wednesday night.
How did Chris Paul look? How did he fit?
I thought he fit pretty well. I mean,
did he start? I don't know.
He did start because Draymond Green is out.
Right.
I don't think they anticipate that he'll be a starter through the season.
So it's Looney, right? Looney, Thompson, Wiggins, Curry, and
Paul.
That is a really, really small lineup.
Yes, it is.
I mean, Draymond's not tall. So.
Yeah, I was going to say Draymond. They wasted a number 2 overall pick on James Wiseman, who was supposed to be their height, and that never happened.
And now he's the 3rd center in Detroit, behind Marvin Bagley and Jalen Durant. I mean,
that's a quick fall, my friend. Is a quick fall.
Is Detroit the depositing places for quick falls? I mean, Marvin Bagley went before. Remember Luka Doncic. And
he's the reclamation project. The reclamation project team.
yeah, well, and you can take on salary if you're in Detroit. And but overall, so I watched the Knicks and Celtics. The Celtics team, if they stay healthy, and it's a big damn if, that team works. It works 100%. But and I think it was Doris Burke was on that broadcast. I'm forgetting who the third person was that she was talking to. But they had at the beginning of the third quarter, they had one bench point. One.
Yeah. Well, because
They have no bench.
I'm assuming the starting lineup was Holiday, Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, and Horford.
Yes. They went Twin Towers most of the game. And I'm
Okay.
not sure that works for the whole season. But
it may have been also based upon who they were playing against. Although I don't think so. I would think it would be a bad because Randall can move around, can go right past them.
well, but again, so let's play it out. Even if you take out Horford, right, and you don't go Twin Towers, then you're just going really small, right? You have Derek White as your 6.
Porzingis is 7-1.
No, I'm saying aside from Porzingis.
Oh yeah. But I mean, yes and no. I mean, Tatum is. I mean, all these guys are 6. I mean, Holiday's like 6'3", 6'4". All these guys are 6'6", between 6'6", 6'7", 6'5", 6'6".
No, I'm saying you said depending on the matchup. So most matchups, and we've talked about this, most matchups have a center that is 7 feet if you're not Golden State, right? And you have a power forward that's between 6'8" and 6'10", right? Somewhere in there, maybe even taller than that, depending on which team you're playing. But I love hearing dings because I'm not sure if it's you or me.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was yours or mine.
It's actually me. But the fact is, you have between 6'8" and 6'10" on your power forward slot, right? And in some cases, you have 7'5", being Victor. So if you take out Horford and you leave in Porzingis, that's fine. Okay, so now Tatum slides to the 4, Brown slides to the 3, Holiday slides to the 2, and Derek White is at the 1, or you flip the other 2. That's a really small lineup, Seth.
Yeah, but again, we're not in an era where people are playing down low. It's not as impactful as it would be 25 years ago. That they're.
I would agree with that. Did you see any of Wemby?
I did not.
Okay. So I watched about a quarter of it was last night, a quarter of his game last night. First of all, he floats around like a gazelle. Like it just looks like his dribble is up to my head, which is amazing, right? And that's where you're going to attack Wemby is on the dribble because there's no other way. Let's put it this way. If you hold the ball up here and you're 7'5", that means you're holding the ball up and it's at 8'2". I mean, nobody's touching that ball. The only way that he reminds me a lot of how they stopped Shaq, or they tried to, in the event of the only way that you stop a dominant big man is when he puts it on the floor. And that's where, if you're going to stop him, Wemby, you either have to muscle him out or you have to stop him on the floor. And the fact that he's playing the 4 with Zach Collins playing the 5 allows him not to be bullied, or you hope.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I read that pretty much he was solid at the second half. I can't imagine you stayed up to watch the second half.
Well, I did not. He was solid on the defensive end the entire game. He is going to weak side help. There's no weak side help. He is help.
Yeah, his arms, he's like he's stretch.
I have no idea. So I remember going to college at Syracuse, and truth be told, I did not live in this dorm, but there was a dorm called Brewster Bowling. And if you put your hands out to both sides, your wingspan was almost the extent of the entire room where people lived. So you had the room, and then you had a study carousel off the beaten path. But so just live, you had 2 beds, and if you put your hands out to both sides, your wingspan of a normal person was basically the entire room. I wonder if Wemby's wingspan is the entire key.
Probably pretty close.
I think it could be close, which means there's no weak side help because he's strong side and weak side at the same time. He doesn't need to rotate around. All he needs to do is turn because his arms are so long. I do fear the Rick Smits problem. I do fear the Kristaps Porzingis problem. I do fear anybody
that his body will not be able to hold up.
Yeah, that is anybody other than Shaq, or the Greg Oden problem, right? Anybody other than or the Bill Walton problem. Anybody other than Shaq, right? Or Wilt. Even Wilt had a knee problem. I mean, is the body? I would be interested to talk to a orthopedist or somebody that would have some insight into this. I understand he's really light, right? He's really thin, and maybe that might help because there's less weight on the body. But Rick Smits wasn't exactly a heavy guy at 7'4", and he had foot problems for like the first 5 years of his career. I'm just concerned. I mean, it is.
Well, I do have a buddy who is a sports orthopedic surgeon, and he knows more about Syracuse basketball than you do.
Let's bring him on.
I'll see if he wants to come on.
See, we could talk Syracuse basketball because for all those people that believe that Carmelo Anthony had an overrated season at Syracuse, we can start talking about that too.
Wow. Yeah, I saw that article. I saw that line.
Oh,
I'm not a Melo guy, but geez.
So Carmelo Anthony and his son visited Syracuse. His son, Keon, is a 4-star. And he visited Syracuse, and they were obviously Carmelo's wearing his 15. Keon's wearing number 1, and they have the national championship trophy in front.
Sure.
And that's their recruiting visit. And Lala was there, the whole shebang. And there was a post on Facebook, fire, right? Because the picture was, for any Syracuse fan, that picture is fire. That picture is just, please, for the love of God, come here. And he's a 4-star, so he's got a lot. He's got Michigan going after him. He's got a lot of schools going after him, real good schools. And somebody in their infinite wisdom, and I call it infinite wisdom because I don't reply to a lot of Facebook posts. I just don't. I don't care. Said Carmelo Anthony overrated season. And I was like, okay. I'm going to lawyer this as best as I can without being rude. Because I didn't want to be rude. Because being rude on Facebook just is stupid. Because there's no winning. It's kind of like when you get into an argument with somebody and you look at them and go, I understand. Right? That's the end of the argument. So I wanted to put down some facts that made it so this was going to be the end of the argument and there was no discussion. Okay? So I wrote something to the extent of one season, freshman of the year, national champion, most valuable player in the Final Four. If that is an overrated season, I will take one every single year.
You would take one every single decade.
Exactly. But if that's the overrated season, please, let's have more of those because I'd love to have overrated seasons all the time.
Understood.
Look, there is a lot that you can find fault with Carmelo Anthony on in his pro career. In that one season at Syracuse, there is very little that you can find fault in.
They won a national title. He was the best player on the team. Like, I don't know his stats. I assume he was a first-team All-American, or if not, he was second team. I mean, I can look it up. I don't really care.
Yeah, he went 22-10. I mean, for the entire year as a freshman and as a true freshman, not a redshirt freshman. So I don't know if redshirt freshman even applies anymore. I'm sure it does for medical redshirts. But anyway. All right.
Nice performance by your football team last night, by the way.
I was watching the Islanders on one TV. I was watching Thursday Night Football on another TV. And I was watching Syracuse off and on my phone which was the right place to watch the worst game of the three. Unless
you're a Virginia Tech fan.
I have been completely on board with keeping Dino Babers for however long he has been a coach. I'm done. I'm done with it. You came out of a bye week last night and played like that?
What was it? It was what, 30-3, something like that.
I turned it off. Like I just turned it off. I have a hard time watching. I in some ways I had a hard time watching. What was it? Some of these NFL games where you just know what's going to happen because they have no offense, absolutely none. So it's just a 3 and out.
You're talking to a Giants fan. Do you really need to explain that to me?
That's a fair point. But you played the Jets this week. You think so? So what's your prediction on our game this week? And do we have pain on which side?
Oh, it's going to be a painful game for the fans to watch, I think. Because neither offense can do much. It can do a hell of a lot. I think you win. We're just not good. I don't know, something like 21-13, something like that.
That would be painful to watch because there's going to be no offense whatsoever. If nothing else, give me some offense. I think the Jets are able to run for. I think Breece Hall runs for 100 yards. And if he runs for 100 yards, it's going to be – that's the end of the game. I think they'll control the clock. I think you're about right on the score. I said 20-13. You said 21-13. I think we're in the same boat. But it does come up with our question. We have not had questions of the week very often.
Not in the last 5 years.
Yeah, but since I moved to Atlanta. But I came up with one the other day. Because I listen to podcasts while I go for my walks, and I'm imagining the player that I hate the most in every team, including my own team. So in history, who's the player you've hated the most from Maryland that you've watched? And I did prepare you for this. I sent you a text on Saturday.
JJ Redick.
No. On your team.
Oh, on our team, X-ray hip.
Why? Because of the name? Because the name is amazing.
The name is sensational. Because he was incredibly athletic and incredibly frustrating to watch.
Okay.
For those of you who are not going to remember, and most of you aren't because you weren't born who watched when he played.
But you may remember because his name is X-ray hip, and you may actually go and look this up. It is one of the best. That and World Be Free are the two best names.
Well, but the difference is World Be Free is a nickname.
It's true.
His name was Lloyd.
Oh, yeah.
Lloyd.
No, but didn't he change his name to World?
He may have been. I don't know if it was a nickname or he changed it. I have no idea.
Okay, I think he changed. But anyway.
He was a 6'8" 6'8" small forward for the Joe Smith Maryland teams in the mid-90s. And he was so athletic, it was ridiculous. And he just never seemed to get better.
Okay, so for my Syracuse team, I will say it's Scoop Jardine. And
Scoop.
I have called Scoop Jardine. I called it when I watched him in Villanova. The most polarizing player in Syracuse University basketball history. For every time you loved him, you hated him within 13 seconds of you loving him.
He was there for like 11 years.
Well, not as much Khalid El Amin. I mean, that's my most hated guy on UConn, and that and Victor Page. But
Victor Page has had his own issues.
But every time Scoop Jardine would like hit a 3-pointer, the next time up, he'd just shoot it from like 40 feet out. And you'd be like, why? Why? Like, why do you need to do that? And it's not a talent. I mean, look, if we're looking at who had the most talent and didn't do anything with it, well, that's easy. That's Damone Brown. I mean, that's a first round pick. Or Chris McCullough.
I don't even remember him.
Chris McCullough or Damone Brown. Two guys that were 6'10", 6'11", lanky guys who just didn't live up to – Chris McCullough was hurt, but didn't live up to their talent. And I'm not sure if that's why you don't like them as a fan. I don't like inconsistency. That drives me absolutely nuts. If you are a good enough player to know on one play what to do, you should be a good enough player to know not to do that on the next play. So, hated guy, I can understand being JJ Redick, although I thought Jay Williams would be in your.
No, I mean, Battier was probably more than Williams. And the funny thing was, like, I guess I grew up a Duke fan, so I haven't. So my dislike really went more towards Maryland, towards UNC and UConn and Georgetown for that matter. But Georgetown was barely relevant, so it did when by the time I went there. I mean, I think they've been to one Final Four in 30 years. Which was the Jeff Green game against Vanderbilt. I don't remember the specifics, and there's nothing to hate about that. Reddick was a little bit after, but he was so Reddick-ish, for lack of a better
Is it
term.
Reddick? Does Grayson Allen make your top 5?
Grayson Allen wasn't relevant. Like, look, he was the best player. He had the best game on a team that won the NCAA tournament. But Grayson Allen didn't do anything to Maryland. Like, you hate the people who torture you.
Yep.
Reddick tortured that team. Battier tortured that team.
How did Jay Williams not torture that team? He scored 8 points in like a minute.
I just like Jay. I just thought he was fun to watch. It's Grace. The funny thing was, years later, when I was doing media for helping Nabate Isles, did I ever tell you the story? And I was wearing this sweatshirt.
The Nabate Isles? The Nabate.
What'd you say?
The Nabate Isles.
The Nabate Isles. I was wearing, I think this is actually exact hoodie. And I was doing video, and I took off my jacket, and we were interviewing Reddick. And I took off my jacket, and he looks and goes, "You got to be fucking kidding me." I started laughing like I couldn't resist.
That's pretty funny.
It was a good interview too.
Well, Reddick's a good. I mean, Reddick's a smart guy.
Very smart.
Do you like Reddick more now on TV than you did as a
player? Oh yeah. No, I liked him as a pro player. I just couldn't stand him as a college player.
Yeah. And for me, I mean, Khalid El-Amin tortured us. I mean, all the time, and Victor Page tortured us. It wasn't Iverson. It had nothing to do with Iverson. I mean, look, we hated everything that resembled Georgetown.
Sure.
Including one of the other two other great names in college basketball.
Ruben Boomchi.
And Boubacar Al. Boubacar Al was fantastic, but especially when he's at the foul line and we're all going, ow. Just I mean, look, fun times, right? Always fun times. And okay, so moving on to your pro career. Not that you
my pro career.
Not that you had a pro career, but your pro allegiances as a Yankee fan. Your most hated player.
Probably someone like Pedroia.
No, he has to be on your team.
Oh, on our team. Oh, there's
so many. Yankee. Who?
I apologize. There are so many of them. Johnny Damon, I couldn't stand.
How about Mel Hall?
Mel Hall was irrelevant. I mean, it's hard to hate irrelevant players.
Why did you hate Damon?
Because I hated the idea, first of all, that he came from the Red Sox. I just thought it was terrible.
But Boggs, you were okay with?
Boggs was at the way end of his career.
Clemens, you were okay with?
I was not okay with Clemens. Clemens was right there too. I hated the Mark Teixeira deal when it was signed.
Right, but it wasn't for Mark Teixeira. You didn't hate Mark Teixeira as a player.
Oh, he was a better than average first baseman.
Correct.
But kind of what comes with it is look, if you're making that kind of money, you're signing that kind of contract,
which
There's
now
an
looks
ex.
like a pittance, but at the time, yeah,
Well, still was I think a eight. What was it? 8 year, $160 million.
Yeah, it's $20 million a year.
But there were a lot of because with baseball especially. There's so much of it is salary based, where the frustration comes in because the money is so out of this world. Like it is in basketball and football. I'm not disputing, but I couldn't stand. I mean, look, I couldn't stand Clemens.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned salaries, and I know we talk about salaries a lot on this show. And I was thinking about the other day all these, especially with the Celtics, right, where you have a $60 million salary and then a $50 million salary. I think our listeners and viewers need to understand that basketball, football, and hockey. We're going to take baseball out of the equation as there is no cap, right? The cap is relative to the amount of income that is coming in, the amount of revenue that is coming in. So if you want to hate the player, if you want to hate the fact that Jason Tatum is earning $60 million, understand that Jason Tatum is only earning $60 million because the Celtics are making that much more revenue. It is a 50-50 split. So it is really hard for me as a person that understands this to hear. I understand your consternation with it takes up a percentage of the cap. And because it takes up a percentage of the cap, I can't sign anybody else. That makes sense to me. I get that. But I don't have any problem with LeBron James earning $50 million. I don't have any problem with Jaylen Brown earning $60 million. Because if they didn't earn the $60 million, that would just be going into the Celtics coffers.
Yeah, but I also have but my feeling also is I have a problem that it cost me $1,000 to take my family to a basketball.
But that wouldn't be changing whether or not the salaries were down.
No, but the idea being if all the revenue generation is both TV contract and gate.
More TV than gate.
Agreed. But the gate has jumped tenfold.
I agree.
5 or whatever it is. And that's the problem I have.
But that has nothing to do with player salaries. That's
if you're saying the Celtics made $500 million.
Yeah.
And $350 million came from the TV contracts.
Yeah.
And $50 million came from whatever they're selling of uniforms or whatever.
Sure.
And $100 million came from the gate.
Yeah.
The gate still has a percentage of it.
Of course, the gate will always have a percentage. It's just
is it more than? It's not the majority, but it's enough. And it's enough that it's relevant and material.
Correct, but my take is that the relevant and material, if people are still willing to pay it, it's never going to go down.
Oh, I don't think it's ever going to go down.
Right, so it wouldn't matter whether salaries were going up or down. It was if you're still paying it, you're still going to charge it.
I am not willing to pay it.
Right, nor am I.
Right, I'm paying it the one time because I'm going to Vegas, and
That's right.
You know my feelings on that.
That's right. But look, if Atlanta gets hockey here and I'm still here, who knows if that'll happen? Will I get season tickets? It's a consideration. It is.
Yeah.
Would I get a full season ticket package? Probably not. I'm not going to go to 45 games. So
no, you're also not a Thrasher. I mean, Thrashers. You're not you have a team.
Right. Yeah. Would I pay those 2 games to go see the Islanders? Of course I would. For the same reason I would do that in Phoenix or do that anywhere else.
Of course.
Okay, so Pedroia is your guy that's not on the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think back. Baseball, I've never had to, because I've never been as big a baseball fan as I have been other sports.
Well, we'll get to the other sports in a second.
Right. So, I respected Pedroia, but as a Yankee fan, how do you root for him? You can't.
No,
what's yours?
So for the Mets,
I'm guessing yours is Chipper.
No, it definitely is not Chipper Jones. So guys on my team, one is Juan Samuel, because anytime you trade your favorite player,
yep,
Who Lenny was my favorite.
Lenny
player.
Dykstra for once.
Lenny
And I think
Dykstra
it was
and
Lenny
Roger
Dykstra and
McDowell.
Roger McDowell for Juan Samuel.
For Juan Samuel. So anytime you trade for Juan Samuel, and look, the kicker has always been anytime the Mets trade for guys with speed, it does not work out. Anytime
Vince Coleman wasn't a good Met.
Well, considering they let Strawberry go and signed Coleman as the replacement, no, that wasn't going to work. Anytime they have done that, it has not worked out. So I would say he is probably my most hated Met in general. Trying to think if there's anybody else that comes close, and I don't believe there is. If we're going to opposing teams, it's actually not Chipper, and the reason why is Chipper. When Chipper was around, I wasn't. I'm still a big baseball fan, but my fandom has gone down, much like everybody else with baseball. It has gone down, and the time the biggest fan was when I was a kid. I mean, 6, 10, 12. That type of age.
We're talking the mid 80s, so you're looking at maybe like a Willie McGee.
Look at the late 80s.
Okay. The late 80s, which is 88, 89, the Dodgers, Oral Hershiser.
Who couldn't the Mets get past in order to win the division? Remember, at that point, there was no wild card. So
in the late 80s,
early 90s.
I thought it was the Cardinals.
The Cardinals were in the other division.
Were they? Okay. It wasn't the Cubs.
So the Cardinals we couldn't get past in 87. So
agreed. They went to the World Series.
Once 87 came, 88 was the Dodgers. And now we're into the late 80s and early 90s. And
89, the Giants went to the series, I think.
Giants went to the series, but who did they play? And
they played the A's. I mean,
no. Who did they play in the National League?
Wasn't the Expos?
Nope.
Wasn't the Phillies?
Nope.
Wasn't the Braves? I guess it wasn't the Braves because that was before they got good.
And they were in the other division.
So I'm trying to remember. Who the heck am I forgetting? Who is it?
I'm looking. So they actually beat the Cubs. San Francisco beat the Cubs. No, that was in the National League. That was
championship series. Yeah.
No.
Because that was when Will Clark was.
The team that bothered me the most was the Pirates. The team that bothered me the most was the Barry Bonds, Sid Bream, late 90s.
Okay, that was
late 80s, early 90s.
That wasn't late 80s. That was early 90s.
Early 90s Pirates. And the guy that always beat the Mets was John Smiley. It did not matter. It wasn't Doug Drabek. It wasn't Bob Walk. For some reason, the Mets against the left-handed John Smiley could never beat John Smiley. Now, if you're going past that, the guys that I hate the most are Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire. Because I get it. I do. I get that records are made to be broken. I get it. But without those two guys, we're not look, steroids are still there. I understand it's a bigger problem than just those two guys. But the records are still there without those two guys. They just are. And they changed the way the game is. And I don't like it. I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. I don't like that Hank Aaron is not the all-time home run hitter, although that's what I believe he still is. I don't like the fact that it's not Maris. And I get
it wouldn't be Maris at this point.
I get that it wouldn't be Maris because you have Sosa, right? But Sosa, same deal.
Aaron Judge passed them.
Yeah, all these guys.
There's never been a comment about Judge.
Yeah, I get it. Well, maybe you also get to the point that without those guys, it's not the home run, walk, or strikeout.
Yeah,
that's
ruined. I mean, that's ruined baseball.
It has. I mean, Carl Schwarber, as good as Carl Schwarber is at what he does, which he is incredibly good, that type of attitude towards playing the game, it's ruined the game. Okay, you are a huge Giant fan.
I am.
Your most hated Giant. And if you have comments, ladies and gentlemen, bring them on because we are welcoming those.
My most hated Giant. I can't say Eli because I didn't hate Eli at all. I just don't think he was as good as he was publicized to be. Kenny Galladay is right up there.
Is that because of the money again?
Yes. Because I don't know these people personally.
Okay, what about earlier? How about growing up? Like, let's not take the adult set. Let's take the kid.
As a kid,
right? Let's take birth to college.
Scott Bruner.
Scott Bruner played quarterback, right?
Yeah. I really liked Phil Simms. And I thought Phil Simms was really, really good. And that there was a controversy between Phil Simms and Scott Bruner made no sense to me.
At a Morehead State, Mr. Simms.
There you go.
Yeah. All right.
Drafted in the first round, number 9, I think. And Montana went two rounds later.
And your Eagle, Skin, or Cowboy. You can pick one from each if you want, because I'm sure you can pick on each.
Cowboy was Emmett.
Okay.
For 2 reasons. Number one, I don't think he's I don't think he's a top 5 running back of all time.
Nobody on that team except the offensive line is top in their
right.
Nobody.
But to be fair, he broke the Giants' heart in '93 or '94.
With the separated shoulder game?
Because I was convinced they played the Giants in the last game of the season. Whoever won that game was going to the Super Bowl. I was convinced of that fact.
Yep.
And it was Smith's greatest game.
It was.
It was Smith versus Rodney Hampton.
Yep.
Rodney Hampton had like 145 yards, and Dallas won in overtime. And the Giants went to San Francisco in the divisional game and got killed. So that was Dallas. I'll be honest. I have less antipathy towards Dallas than I do the other 2 teams. The Redskins. Oh God, there's so many.
But Darryl Green is not one of them.
No, Darryl Green was great.
Everybody loved Darryl Green.
Yeah, what was not to like about Darryl Green? Riggins, I couldn't stand. I thought he was ridiculous.
Also, not really a Hall of Fame career, although he gets a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah.
John Riggins is Joe Namath.
Yeah. Jay Schrader was not a fan of it all.
Okay.
The Eagles was Cunningham because Cunningham killed us. Absolutely. It was like this running joke because the Cowboys were irrelevant in the 80s.
Yep.
Call it what it is. Between the catch, which is like 81, 82, around that point, to 91, they're completely irrelevant. So it was a rotating of the Giants would beat the Redskins would beat the Eagles would beat the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Every time. We couldn't stop Randall Cunningham. We could not do it. Carl Banks could not do it. The Monday night play that made him famous, couldn't do it. So that was it.
And the funny thing is, so Randall Cunningham and Fran Tarkenton are what today's quarterbacks are.
Yes.
Right? They were about 20 years too early. In Tarkenton's case, like 35 years too early. But they are today, they are the epitome of today's quarterback. And if you look at Lamar Jackson, it is a perfect comp to Randall Cunningham in every aspect. He's got no receivers. He's got a great offensive line. He's got running backs that may or may not be able to run, but he's got multiple running backs, right? And that's what the Eagles had, multiple running backs. He's got a really good offensive line, and he's got a tight end that he can throw to.
Keith Jackson. Oh, Nelly.
I'm just saying, it's the same team. It's the same team from Randall Cunningham, except Lamar Jackson has not punted 98 yards, which I think he did against the Giants.
He did against the Giants. It was 91, I think, but yeah.
91 yards. So, okay. So, as a Jet fan, the current the player that I could not stand the most, obviously Vernon Gholston is up there, right? Every first round pick for like 9 years. Okay, Blair Thomas, Vernon Gholston, Kyle Brady. Kyle Brady more because we didn't pick Warren Sapp, but Kyle Brady, Jeff Loggeman, Mike Haight. I mean, I could go through every first round. Dee Milner, every first round pick. Oh yeah, they just keep going, right? We had one great draft where we got Pennington, Becht, Abraham, and Ellis. Fantastic draft. Thank you, Bill Parcells. And who has 4 first-round picks when you're not the Oklahoma City Thunder, the New York Jets? I don't know if that'll ever be done again.
All 4 of them were relatively. Abraham were relatively.
No, but the accumulation of 4 first-round picks, Seth, in the NFL, that will never be done again. They're just too valuable. You'll never get first-round picks. It's hard enough to trade a first-round pick now. You won't see one at the deadline. I don't think you'll see one traded at the deadline. Daniel Hunter's not getting you one. Derrick Henry's not getting you one.
Nope.
So where's your first-round pick? So 4 first-round picks. So I'll say every first-round pick from the Jets that did not pan out was one of my most hated people. If you want to talk about hated people on the other side of the ball,
I assume it's Brady.
Well, there's 2 from the modern age, right? One being Sir Thomas Brady. I call him Thomas now because he's no longer playing. And Julian Edelman, because
the Jew?
For the love
Jew?
of God.
We have so few of us.
Seth.
Everyone hates our guts, as you can see on the news.
Seth,
really?
Did you watch the movie Varsity Blues, right?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody knew Tweeter was going to get the ball. Everybody knew he was going to get the ball. And
they also knew he was going to drink beer. Because Tweeter liked beer.
They still couldn't stop him. On 3rd down, Julian Edelman.
Stop any slot receiver.
Julian Edelman. Wes Welker. I was going to put Wes Welker in the same boat. Julian Edelman, Wes Welker. You know he's getting the ball. There's nobody else on the team that can catch. And you still can't stop him. And that is why I hate him. All right. Let's go to my childhood. So you have the New England Patriots, who I couldn't have cared less about at all. You had the Buffalo Bills, who I barely knew anybody on the team.
Meaningless. I'm assuming we're going Marino here.
So you have one team and one team only, and that is the Miami Dolphins. And it is not Marino.
Is it Clayton or Duper?
It's Clayton and Duper. They're just called Mark. It's just I have never seen a pair of wide receivers like them ever on the same team that did what they did.
Really? You've never seen a pair of receivers?
Every pair of wide receivers, you have a short guy and you have a long guy. Fair. Clayton and Duper were just
2 short guys. Yeah.
No. I mean go guys, or you had the underneath guy, right? So you have your Cooper Kupps, who's basically an underneath guy. You have your if you want to put Wes Welker and Randy Moss in that conversation, you have a slot receiver and you have a guy that goes long, right?
Yes.
Duper and Clayton, first of all, could do both. And second of all, did both all the time. We're just going to send 2 guys on flies, and I'll just pick which side Marino's going to throw the ball to. And nobody can catch either one of these guys. So touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. Remember, Dan Marino threw for 48 touchdowns in 1984.
Yes, he did.
That was the record for almost 25 years. That's insane.
Well, it is. It is amazing how you've talked about how Kareem is going to kind of fall down the wayside.
Marino's already done it.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. That's what happened to Marino. A, because he never won a Super Bowl, and B, because the last 5 to 7 years he wasn't. His career is like Pujols-ish.
So in 1984, so hold on. In 1984, Marino had 48 touchdowns. Since then, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys have more than that. The first one happening in 2004. So it happened 20 years. Under him, the next guy is Marino at 44. And then nobody until 1998, which was Steve Young, which was 14 years later. And then nobody Favre. I mean, he was so far ahead of his time that.
Well, as you said, he had an amazing. First of all, he had possibly the quickest release in the history of the NFL.
Yes,
and I remember it a little differently. I defer to you. I remember Duper being the deep threat and Clayton being more of the short, not as much of the deep threat.
Agreed. They could go. I said they could both be the short guy, or they both could be the long guy. There's no, in today's NFL, you don't have guys that do both. You either have guys that do one. It's just a different game. Just a different game. So, all right. Your New Jersey Devils.
That's easy.
A guy you hated on your team.
Well, I think it was probably impossible to like Claude Lemieux.
I loved Claude Lemieux.
I mean, although he won, I don't remember if he won the Conn Smythe, but he was pretty hard to like. And the opposition, that's easy. Because there's only one team you can put there. It's the same team you're going to put there.
Yep.
And
but who's the guy?
It's Messier. It's got to be.
It's not Messier.
No, but Messier didn't break you guys.
Right. Oh, I know. Oh, I thought it would be Stephon Matteau actually for you, but
he scored one fluke goal. Messier destroyed us in Game 6.
Fair.
Look, Messier was amazing. He was an amazing player. There's nothing to dislike about him. Like, he was a top 15, top 20 player of all time. Great leader. But, he predicted the hat trick, the Game 6, and he won with a hat trick.
All right. For me, for the Islanders, it is the simplest call of all simple calls. And that is
Alexander. No.
I don't even know who Alexander.
Who was their number 1 overall pick? That was a bust. The dated Carol all the models.
Rick DiPietro?
No. Didn't they have the first overall pick?
Yeah.
Who dated like Carol Alton, Cheryl Teagues, and all those
guys?
Yes,
that was Yashin, and he wasn't their first pick. He was Ottawa's first.
Was he Ottawa's first pick? Okay.
They traded him for Chara and for Jason Spezza, which is a horrible trade.
That's a horrendous deal.
But I will tell you, Yashin put up 80 points when he came to the Islanders, so he's not my guy. And repercussions notwithstanding, and Juan Samuel notwithstanding, that would be the Alexa Yashin comparison. My guy was Kirk Muller. Oh,
really?
So understand, you were in a. I don't believe you.
Wait a minute.
Now you're going to ask, when was Kirk Muller on the Islanders? Right?
He was I'm trying to think. He was the number 2 pick behind Lemieux in 84 or 85, whatever year it was. He went to the Devils.
Yep.
He was there for 10 years.
Yep.
He was a solid player.
Yep.
What the hell?
All right. So the story of Kirk Muller is Kirk Muller was the captain of the Devils.
Yes.
Then he gets traded to Montreal.
Yes.
From Montreal, he gets traded to the New York Islanders for Pierre Turgeon and Vladimir Malakov. When Turgeon was coming off a 100-point season and Malakov was a 24-year-old defenseman. Does this sound very similar to Alexa Yashin? Yes, it does. Let's give up a top center and a top defenseman for an over-the-hill guy that doesn't want to be here. And guess what? Kirk Muller sat out the first 25 games of the year after getting traded to the Islanders and then got traded again. I hate Kirk Muller.
I think that sounds like it should be a T-shirt.
It is beyond. First of all, we traded my favorite player, which was Pierre Turgeon. Number 2, Pierre Turgeon was 25 years old. Number 3, I have never written a letter to the Islanders management until that day. And I wrote a 4-page letter telling them how stupid they were.
Did they ever respond?
Well, of course not. This is my freshman or sophomore year in college, and I write this. And I have look, I've been an Islander fan since the day I was born. There are days that I have been mad. There has been no day that I have been as mad as that day. Okay. Now,
how about where does John Tavares fall on your list?
He's in the top 5, but the fact that Toronto hasn't won a cup has made that much better. It just has. Look, if Tavares is on the team with the $12 million cap, you don't get to sign A, B, and C. And that's the repercussions of any big signing. John Tavares was a great player when he was on the Islanders. Do I like the fact that he screwed us over? No. Do I like the fact that he hasn't won a cup? Yes. If he wins a cup this year, does he go to the top of the list? He goes to number 2. 100%. If he wins a cup with Toronto, he is right behind Kirk Muller. Okay.
I have never heard the Kirk Muller story before.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're going to go read it now. I know this. All right. Quickly, because we got 5 minutes left. My Ranger that I hate the most was Jeff Bukaboom, the born-again Christian, who I didn't understand what born-again Christianity was. But at the time, he got into huge fights with Nick Nakota. And there was also Mike Gartner. And I loved Mike Gartner as a player, and I couldn't stand him as a Ranger because I was scared every time he came down the ice, more so than I did any other player in the NHL, including Wayne Gretzky. Mike Gardner was flash. Okay, we'll talk about the Knicks and the Nets next week since we're in our last 5 minutes. It'll give Seth time to think of his net that he hated the most because he's pondering it right now. But in our last 5 minutes, I'll go first. I am quite sickened by the fact that Jake DeGrom and Max Scherzer may win a World Series championship. Not this is the way the cookie crumbles. I am extraordinarily happy for my family in Arizona who are Diamondback fans. Congratulations on making the World Series. I have never pushed for a team other than the New York Giants in a championship series or game more than I will be for this team, Arizona, because
the New York Giants.
Well, I pushed for the Giants against the Patriots. So this will be the second biggest push for a team that's not my own to win a championship because I hate the Texas Rangers, and DeGrom and Scherzer should not be celebrating anything that's not.
How much will you watch?
At least one game. I'm not sure how many I'll watch, but at least one game. I'll watch some.
How many players do you know on these teams combined?
I'll say 15. I'll go into it next week, but I think I can name 15. And I'm not going to look into it, but I think I can name 15.
Okay.
Okay. Seth, you're up.
Two quick things. The Michigan.
Oh, yeah. We didn't even get into that.
Yeah, no, there's a great article about it on The Athletic about someone who also does this. And what they're saying is they're kind of, I think this has been relatively prevalent. They have pushed, obviously this has been, there's things he's done above and beyond. But what I am really curious is, unlike other issues we've seen in the past, the ramifications of this would impact this year. If they find it, and I'm curious to see, because I don't think anyone has the chutzpah to say Michigan's going to be ineligible in this year when they're the number one team in the country. But I'm really curious to see if there's a fallout, and if there is, when it's done. I've never been less excited for a boxing title fight. I used to love boxing. Sean knows this. I can't even watch anymore. And to see an MMA fighter versus a heavyweight champion, someone asked me if I was paying for it. I go, I wouldn't
Wait,
watch
that's
it.
actually happening?
Saturday.
Did you see that with McGregor and Mayweather?
This is the heavyweight championship.
Oh, fantastic.
Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury. The silliest thing I've ever seen. And regardless of who wins, I assume it'll be Fury. But just over it. Anyway, next week we'll have to do a different time. I'm going to be in the city on Wednesday.
Fantastic. We'll figure that out. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Seth Kamen's over there, Sean Palmer over here. Happy Halloween. More importantly, be safe to anybody that actually is trunk or treating. And we'll talk to you guys next week. Have a good one, everybody.
Have a good one.
Yeah. Bye-bye.